The chopper blades cut through the Afghan sky with a rhythmic certainty, a counterpoint to the uncertainty that churned in my stomach. As a Green Beret, I'd been in more hot zones than I cared to count, but this mission felt different. We were headed to a remote village in the mountains, a place barely a blip on any map, on what was described as a routine reconnaissance mission. But in Afghanistan, the word routine carried a weight all its own. As we descended, the village emerged like a mirage against the rugged landscape. It was a cluster of mud houses, huddled together as if seeking comfort against the harshness of the mountains. We landed on a dusty clearing, the chopper kicking up a storm of sand and debris before it retreated back to the sky, leaving us in an unsettling silence. I led my team through the narrow streets, feeling the weight of curious, wary eyes on us. The villagers were a hardy folk, their faces etched with the tales of survival in this unforgiving land. They offered polite nods, but their eyes held stories they weren't willing to share. We were outsiders here, perhaps more than anywhere else I'd been. Our objective was simple: assess any potential threats in the area and gather intel. But as we patrolled, we stumbled upon something unexpected. Nestled in a secluded part of the village was an ancient temple, its walls worn by time and weather, yet standing defiant against the ages. It was an architectural anomaly, so out of place in this landscape, yet it felt like it had been part of it since the dawn of time. Curiosity piqued, we approached the temple, our tactical training giving way to a sense of awe. The temple's entrance was adorned with intricate carvings, symbols that were neither Arabic nor any script I recognized. They seemed to dance in the flickering light, whispering secrets of a forgotten era. As we inspected the carvings, an elderly villager approached us. His face was a roadmap of wrinkles, each line a testament to a life lived in the raw lap of nature. He spoke in broken English, his voice a raspy whisper. "You should not disturb the sleep of the old ones." His warning was cryptic, the kind that in any other place would have seemed like superstitious nonsense. But here, in the shadow of the ancient temple, it carried an ominous weight. I couldn't shake off the villager's warning, yet my rational mind chalked it up to local folklore. Still, something about this place felt alive, as if the temple itself was breathing with centuries of untold stories. I made the call to explore further, a decision driven more by an unexplainable pull than any strategic reasoning. As night began to fall, casting long shadows across the village, we set up a small camp near the temple. The stars above were unusually bright, like a celestial tapestry untouched by the light pollution of the modern world. I lay there, under the Afghan sky, a sense of unease creeping into my thoughts. We were trained to face enemy fire, to navigate the treacherous terrain of war. But here, in the presence of this ancient relic, I couldn't shake the feeling that we were about to face something entirely different, something that our bullets and bravado couldn't defend against. Sleep was elusive that night, as if the temple and the mountains were whispering to each other, and we were the unwitting eavesdroppers on a conversation that spanned millennia. The next morning would take us into the heart of the temple, into the unknown. But for now, I lay there, caught between the world I knew and a world that defied understanding, a soldier on the threshold of a mystery far older than any war we were fighting. Dawn broke with a clarity that seemed to pierce through the enigma of the night. As the sun cast its first light over the mountains, it felt like awakening from a dream, one where shadows whispered and ancient eyes watched. I rallied the team, the unease of the previous night tucked away under the facade of military discipline. We approached the temple with a newfound respect, or perhaps a cautious wariness. The entrance loomed before us, a gateway to a forgotten time. As we stepped inside, the cool air of the temple enveloped us, a stark contrast to the sun-scorched earth outside. It was as if we had stepped into another realm, one that was untouched by the passage of time. The interior of the temple was a labyrinth of corridors and chambers, each adorned with the same cryptic symbols that guarded its entrance. The air was thick with the scent of ancient incense, and the walls seemed to pulse with a rhythm that resonated with the beating of our hearts. Here, In the belly of the temple, history was alive, breathing through the stone and dust. Our exploration led us to a central chamber, a vast hall that housed a stone altar. It was surrounded by statues, figures of warriors and mythical beasts, each carved with an astonishing attention to detail. The altar itself was inscribed with more symbols, and in its center lay a collection of manuscripts, their pages yellowed with age but preserved by the dry air. I carefully picked up one of the manuscripts, the pages crackling under my touch. The script was unlike anything I had ever seen, a series of symbols that seemed to dance and shift before my eyes. But amidst these unfamiliar characters, there were drawings, intricate depictions of rituals, celestial alignments, and a figure that stood at the center of it all, the Whisperer. The Whisperer was depicted as a being of immense power, a guardian of the temple and the keeper of its secrets. Its form was fluid, shifting between human and something ethereal, a creature of smoke and shadows. According to the manuscripts, the Whisperer was not just a myth, but a sentinel, watching over the temple and the knowledge it contained. As we delved deeper into the manuscripts, the air around us seemed to grow denser, charged with an energy that was almost palpable. It was then that the first of the unexplainable phenomena began. Shadows moved with a life of their own, creeping along the walls like living things. Whispers echoed through the corridors, voices that seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. We stood there, a group of hardened soldiers, trained to face the deadliest of enemies, yet in that moment, we were nothing more than trespassers in a realm that defied our understanding. The temple was not just a structure of stone and mortar. It was a vessel of ancient power, a power that we had unwittingly awakened. As we made our way back to the entrance, the temple seemed to watch us, its silent corridors a reminder of the mysteries that lay within. We emerged into the daylight, the sun high in the sky, but the light did nothing to dispel the darkness that had taken root in our hearts. We had uncovered the secrets of the temple, but in doing so, we had opened a door to a world that was never meant to be disturbed. And it was only a matter of time before whatever lay beyond that door would come seeking us. The temple's mysteries had seeped into our minds, blurring the lines between the real and the surreal. That night, as we camped under the starlit Afghan sky, the first signs of the temple's influence began to manifest. Time seemed to distort around us. Hours felt like minutes, and minutes stretched into hours. It was disorienting, watching the stars move across the sky at an unnatural pace, their celestial dance a silent testament to the temple's power. Our surroundings began to change as well. The familiar landscape of the Afghan mountains seemed to morph, revealing glimpses of ancient ruins and forgotten cities. It was as if the temple was a nexus, a point where different eras converged. We were no longer just soldiers on a reconnaissance mission. We had become unwilling travelers through time. The visions became more vivid with each passing hour. We saw warriors in ancient garb, their armor and weapons unlike any recorded in history books. These apparitions moved through our camp like ghosts, unaware of our presence, locked in battles long since fought. The air was filled with the sounds of these spectral skirmishes, the clash of steel and the cries of warriors echoing through the night. As reality continued to warp, the team's resolve began to fracture. Some were entranced by the visions, while others were visibly shaken, their stoic facades crumbling under the weight of the inexplicable. I could see the fear in their eyes, a fear that went beyond the threat of enemy combatants or the harshness of the terrain. We were facing something that defied our training, our understanding of the world. Amidst this chaos, I struggled to maintain order, to remind the team of our mission and purpose, but even my voice seemed distant, as if I was speaking from the other end of a long, dark tunnel. The temple's influence was growing stronger, its whispers now a constant hum in our ears, a siren song luring us deeper into its ancient mystery. The climax of our disorientation came with the disappearance of 2 team members. They were there one moment, their forms outlined against the flickering campfire, and the next, they were gone, as if swallowed by the night itself. A frantic search ensued, but it was fruitless. The mountains offered no clues, no trace of their presence. It was as if the temple had claimed them, taken them into its fold. That night, as I lay awake, the reality of our situation settled in with a crushing weight. We were not just soldiers in a foreign land. We were pawns in a game that stretched beyond the confines of time and space. The temple was more than a structure of stone and relics. It was a gateway to something ancient, something that had been waiting, watching for centuries. As the first light of dawn broke the horizon, I made a decision. We would enter the temple again, not as conquerors or explorers, but as seekers of truth. We needed to understand the nature of the Whisperer, to uncover the secrets that lay within the temple's walls. Only then could we hope to find our missing comrades and escape the grip of the ancient entity that held us in its thrall. With a sense of grim determination, we prepared to delve back into the temple's depths. The world around us was no longer familiar, no longer ours. We were stepping into the unknown, into a past that was as alive and as treacherous as any enemy we had ever faced. As we ventured once again into the temple's shadowy embrace, the walls seemed to pulsate with a life of their own, echoing our every step. The air was thick, charged with an energy that felt both ancient and alive. The temple was not just a relic, it was a living entity, and we were intruders in its sacred halls. The disappearance of our teammates weighed heavily on us, casting a pall over the mission. Their absence was a tangible reminder of the temple's power, a power we had barely begun to understand. As we delved deeper into the labyrinthine corridors, a sense of foreboding gripped us, a feeling that we were being watched by unseen eyes. It was in these depths that the true nature of the Whisperer began to reveal itself. The entity was not just a guardian of the temple, it was a mirror reflecting our deepest fears and traumas. One by one, my team members began to experience haunting visions of their past, memories of battles fought, of comrades lost, and of the horrors of war that we had all tried to bury. For me, the visions were particularly harrowing. I saw the faces of men I had led into battle, men who had not returned. Their accusing eyes bore into me, their voices a chorus of whispers that filled the temple's halls. It was a relentless assault on my psyche, a reminder of the cost of war, of the lives that had been sacrificed in the name of duty and honor. The temple's influence was unrelenting, peeling away our mental defenses, exposing the vulnerabilities we had hidden under the armor of our training. The lines between reality and hallucination blurred, and we found ourselves fighting not against an external enemy, but against the demons that resided within us. Amidst these visions of the past, a startling revelation emerged. The Whisperer was not an enemy, but a conduit for truth. It forced us to confront the parts of ourselves we had long suppressed, the guilt, the fear, the uncertainty that comes with the life of a soldier. It was a bitter pill to swallow, realizing that the horrors we faced were of our own making. As the day wore on, the temple seemed to grow darker, its walls closing in on us. We were lost in a maze of our own memories, each turn revealing another fragment of our haunted pasts. The whispers grew louder, a cacophony of voices that threatened to overwhelm us. In a moment of clarity, I understood that our only escape from this psychological torment was to face it head-on. We had to confront our fears, to accept the truths that the Whisperer was revealing to us. It was a daunting task, one that required every ounce of our strength and courage. As night approached, we gathered in the central chamber, a broken and weary group. The statues of ancient warriors that lined the walls seemed to watch over us, their stone faces a reminder of the countless souls who had walked these halls before us. We were at a crossroads, caught between the reality of our mission and the unearthly power of the temple. The darkness of the night mirrored the darkness within us, a darkness that the Whisperer had brought to light. Tomorrow, we would venture deeper into the heart of the temple to uncover the final secrets that lay within. But for tonight, we were prisoners of our own past, haunted by the ghosts of wars long gone, yet ever present in the hallowed halls of this ancient sanctuary. The new day broke with a heavy silence over our camp. The sun's rays seemed to struggle against the somber mood that had settled upon us. As we prepared to re-enter the temple, there was a palpable shift in our demeanor. We were no longer the confident soldiers of days past. We were seekers, treading a path fraught with personal demons and ancient mysteries. Our return to the temple was marked by a reluctant acceptance. The structure that once seemed a mere archaeological curiosity now held a profound significance. We were delving not just into a physical space, but into a realm of spiritual introspection. As we navigated the temple's corridors, the distinction between the temple and the village began to blur. The villagers, who had kept a wary distance, now emerged as silent observers. Their eyes, once filled with caution, now bore a depth of understanding, as if they were custodians of the temple's truths. It was then that the villagers revealed their true connection to the temple. They were not mere residents of a remote Afghan village. They were descendants of the ancient civilization that built the temple. Their lives were intertwined with its legacy, guardians of its history and secrets. The revelation was a turning point. The villagers shared stories of the Whisperer, not as a fearsome entity, but as a sacred guardian. It was a force that protected the balance between the material world and the realm of spirits, a bridge to the ancestors who once walked these lands. With this new understanding, we learned of a ritual, a way to communicate with the Whisperer. It required a personal sacrifice, an offering of one's innermost truths. The thought was daunting. To bare one's soul in such a way was contrary to everything we had been trained to be as soldiers. The ritual was to be performed at the heart of the temple, in a chamber we had not yet explored. As we prepared for the ritual, the atmosphere was thick with anticipation. Each of us was confronted with the choice of what to sacrifice, what part of our being we were willing to offer to the Whisperer. In the ritual chamber, surrounded by the ancient carvings and the watchful eyes of the villagers, we began the ceremony. It was a surreal experience, chanting words in a language as old as the hills, feeling the energy of the temple coalesce around us. As the ritual progressed, the air shimmered with a palpable energy, and the temple seemed to awaken. The walls vibrated with a low hum, and the statues appeared to come alive, their stone faces flickering with emotion. One by one we made our offerings, speaking our truths into the ether. With each confession, a weight lifted, a release of the burdens we had carried for so long. But with the release came a vulnerability, an exposure of our deepest selves. As the ritual came to a close, the chamber glowed with a soft, otherworldly light. We had opened a channel to the Whisperer, and in doing so, had opened ourselves to the possibility of understanding and redemption. The ritual's conclusion left us in a state of quiet reflection. We had faced our pasts, our fears, and our regrets. The temple, once a symbol of mystery and fear, had become a sanctuary, a place of healing. As we exited the chamber, the villagers regarded us with a newfound respect, a recognition of the journey we had undertaken. We were no longer just foreign soldiers. We were part of a story that spanned centuries, woven into the tapestry of the temple's history. The night that followed was calmer, the whispers of the Whisperer now a gentle murmur. We slept with a sense of peace, a peace that came from confronting the chaos within and finding a semblance of harmony. The next day would bring us deeper into the temple's secrets, but for now, we rested, cradled in the arms of ancient wisdom and the quiet strength of the Afghan mountains. As dawn broke over the mountains, a sense of surreal calm enveloped us. The ritual from the previous night had altered something fundamental within us, and, seemingly, within the temple itself. Today, we were to venture into the deepest part of the temple, a place the villagers spoke of in hushed tones, where the veil between the past and present was thinnest. Our descent into the temple's depths felt like a journey through time. The walls were adorned with bas-reliefs depicting scenes of ancient life and mystical ceremonies. The further we went, the more the lines between epochs blurred. We were walking in our time, yet surrounded by the echoes of ages past. In this strange confluence of eras, our perceptions shifted dramatically. The temple revealed its true nature, not just as a structure of stone and forgotten prayers, but as a living bridge between worlds. We began to experience visions that were not just reflections of our past, but of the temple's history. We saw the rise and fall of empires, the ebb and flow of civilizations that had long turned to dust. Our missing team members reappeared, but they were changed, as if they had been touched by the very essence of the temple. Their eyes held a depth that spoke of experiences beyond our comprehension. They spoke of their journey, a voyage through the temple's soul, where they had witnessed the intertwining of history and legend. These reunions, though joyous, were tinged with an air of otherworldliness. The team members who had returned bore knowledge and insights that seemed impossible. They spoke of events and eras they could not have known, their words infused with the wisdom of the temple. Amidst these revelations, I found myself grappling with my own sense of reality. The temple had become a part of us, its ancient heartbeat synchronizing with ours. The boundaries of my consciousness expanded, embracing a reality where time was a fluid, ever-changing tapestry. The day was spent exploring this new, merged reality. We walked alongside phantoms of the past, observing rituals and battles that had shaped the course of history. It was a humbling experience, witnessing the grand tapestry of human existence from a vantage point that transcended time. As evening approached, we gathered in the temple's central chamber once again. The walls seemed to glow with an ethereal light, the carvings and symbols alive with the energy of 1,000 years. In this sacred space, we realized that our mission had become something far greater than a military operation. We had become part of a legacy that bridged the mortal and the divine. That night, under the starlit Afghan sky, our conversations were reflective, filled with awe and wonder. We shared our experiences, each tale a piece of the greater puzzle that was the temple's mystery. The air was alive with the whispers of history, of secrets unveiled and truths embraced. Sleep came easily, a peaceful slumber cradled in the arms of ancient knowledge. We were no longer just soldiers. We were custodians of a story that stretched back through the ages, a story that we were now a part of. Tomorrow, we would face the final chapter of our journey in the temple, a journey that had transformed us in ways we could never have imagined. The morning light filtered softly through the temple, casting long, ethereal shadows across the stone floor. Today was the day we would face the ultimate truth of the Whisperer. The air was thick with a mix of anticipation and apprehension. We had come a long way from being mere soldiers. We were now voyagers on a mystical journey that transcended the boundaries of time and space. As we assembled in the central chamber, the heart of the temple, a profound sense of solemnity enveloped us. This was where our journey would reach its climax, where the secrets of the Whisperer would finally be revealed. The chamber, lit by the soft glow of torches, seemed to pulsate with an ancient rhythm, as if it were alive with the spirits of the past. The ritual we were about to perform was our final gambit, a plea for understanding and perhaps forgiveness from the Whisperer. The ceremony required a personal sacrifice, not of flesh and blood, but of something far deeper, a part of our very essence. For each of us, this meant confronting the core of our being, the darkest corners of our soul. As the ritual commenced, the chamber seemed to resonate with our collective heartbeat. We chanted in unison, the ancient words echoing off the walls, creating a symphony of sound and spirit. The air crackled with energy, the very atmosphere charged with the power of our intent. One by one we stepped forward to make our sacrifices. With each confession, with each release of our innermost fears and truths, the chamber grew brighter, the energy more intense. I could feel the weight of my own burdens lifting, a cathartic release that left me exposed yet unburdened. As I made my sacrifice, a torrent of emotions flooded through me. Guilt, sorrow, relief. It was as if I was shedding a part of myself, leaving it behind in the ancient stones of the temple. The Whisperer, now a tangible presence in the chamber, seemed to absorb our offerings. its form a swirling mass of light and shadow. The climax of the ritual was a moment of pure transcendence. The chamber erupted in a blinding light, enveloping us in a warmth that felt like the embrace of the universe itself. In that instant, the true nature of the Whisperer was revealed, not a creature of horror, but a guardian of balance and truth, a bridge between the earthly and the divine. As the light faded, a profound silence filled the chamber. We were left in a state of awe and humility. The Whisperer had accepted our sacrifices, and in doing so, had granted us a glimpse into the fundamental truths of existence, the interconnectedness of life, the cyclical nature of history, and the deep, unbreakable bonds of the human spirit. We emerged from the temple transformed. The world outside seemed brighter, more vibrant, as if we were seeing it through new eyes. The burdens of our past, the shadows of our experiences in war, had been left behind in the temple's ancient halls. That night, we camped for the last time in the shadow of the temple. Our conversations were subdued, reflective. We spoke of the future, of returning to a world that would never quite be the same for us. The temple had changed us, had shown us the depth and breadth of our own souls. As I lay under the stars, I realized that our mission in Afghanistan had been about more than just military objectives. It had been a journey of discovery, a journey into the heart of what it means to be human. The Whisperer, once a source of fear, was now a symbol of our journey, a reminder of the mysteries and wonders that lie just beyond the veil of our understanding. Tomorrow, we would leave the temple behind, but its echoes would remain with us forever. We were soldiers, yes, but we were also so much more. We were the keepers of an ancient secret, the custodians of a truth that transcended time and space. And as I drifted into sleep, I knew that this experience would forever be a part of me, a chapter in the story of my life that I would carry with me always. The dawn of our departure was bittersweet. The Afghan sun rose with a gentle warmth, casting a golden hue over the temple that had been our crucible. As we packed our gear, there was a quiet understanding among us. We were leaving, but a part of us would forever remain within those ancient walls. Walking away from the temple, I felt a profound connection to the land and its history. The experiences of the past few days had reshaped my understanding of the world. The temple, with its enigmatic guardian, the Whisperer, had revealed truths I could never have imagined. The villagers, who had once regarded us with caution, now bid us farewell with a sense of kinship. Their eyes spoke volumes of the journey we had shared, a journey that transcended language and culture. In their nods and smiles, there was a recognition of the transformation that had occurred within us. As we trekked back towards our extraction point, the landscape seemed to echo with the whispers of history. Every stone and every tree felt imbued with the spirit of the temple. The mountains, once mere geographical features, now stood as silent witnesses to the ageless dance of civilization and time. The journey back was contemplative. Each of us was immersed in our thoughts, processing the profound changes we had undergone. The camaraderie of the team remained, but there was a new depth to it, a bond forged in the fires of ancient truths and shared revelations. Upon our return, the world seemed both familiar and alien. We had completed our mission, but we were not the same men who had set out on it. The war continued, the battles raged on, but for us, there was an added dimension to our existence, a heightened awareness of the larger tapestry of life. In the days that followed, I found myself reflecting on the experience. The temple, the Whisperer, the rituals, they had all been real, yet they defied conventional understanding. I grappled with the desire to share the story, but how could I? It was beyond the realm of belief for those who had not experienced it. I realized that our encounter with the Whisperer was not just about facing our pasts. It was about understanding our place in the universe. We were but a small part of an ongoing story, a chapter in a book that stretched back to the dawn of time. As I penned my memoirs, the memories of the temple were a constant presence. They were a reminder of the mysteries that lay just beyond the veil of our perception, of the countless stories waiting to be told. The temple and the whisperer had given me a gift, a new lens through which to view the world. The horrors of war, the struggles of existence, they were all part of the human experience, a tapestry woven with threads of joy, sorrow, pain, and beauty. In the quiet moments, I can still hear the echoes of the ancient temple, feel the presence of the whisperer. It's a reminder that there is so much more to this world than we can see, so much more to our existence than we can comprehend. As I close this chapter of my life, I do so with a sense of peace and understanding. The temple in the Afghan mountains may be a world away, but its lessons are with me always. It taught me about the depth of the human spirit, the resilience of the soul, and the enduring power of truth.